Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do an episode of the bulk making, the mass making, or making on mass episodes. We're going to make the policy envelopes. So what you're going to need if you're going to do some policy envelopes in the bulk style is just bring along some sheets of paper, be that 12 by 12s, A4, even sort of scraps, providing that they're a reasonable size, so they don't have to really be A4, but they're going to need to be big-ish, otherwise you're going to end up with pretty tiny policy envelopes. But yeah, so if you bring along bits of paper that you're going to use to form your envelopes, you will need a circle punch, or you're going to have to be cutting circles out. So personally, I'm not great at cutting circles out, so I've just got my 1-inch circle punch. You're going to need some glue. I like to use a pokey tool. To be honest, you could get by using a needle or anything else. I like to use string to close my policy envelopes, so you may like to use some string as well. Scissors, obviously, and possibly just some some bits of scrap paper. I think that's all that we're going to need. So yeah, let's get cracking. So again, I've just brought along a bunch of card and paper and various different things. So, well, I think they're called policy envelopes actually, if I'm truthful. So if I just move some of this stuff out of the way. So what I'll do, I'll start with some coffee dyed card, and we'll just make a plain one while I run through with you guys how to do it. Sorry about that. I was just putting the stuff on the floor. So I'll run through with you how to do it once or twice, and then obviously I will not be giving instructions anymore. So I'm just going to take my A4 card. Now here's one that I've semi put together before the episode. So I don't tend to measure, but if you wanted to, measure, you can see roughly where that is on that piece of A4 card. So, let's say, for example, we're going to go for this sort of size again. Just going to trim it down here at the side. Obviously, this one's going to be slightly bigger, but, we're not really kind of getting too hung up on the size. So I'm just going to trim the height of it down a bit, like that. So more scraps here. I'm just going to put them to one side rather than bin them. So how I like to make mine is I just fold one side in. Again, I'm not measuring, I'm just doing it by eye. And again, I should have really purchased a bone folder before coming on to do this, but that's fine. So that's one side. Now the other side, I just fold it in, roughly how wide I want my coin envelope to be. Again, judge it by eye, and you might want to make a few different sized ones because, over the course of making your journals, you're going to want different sized pieces depending on the space that you've got, where you're putting them. So that's my piece. Obviously my piece that's got the straight edge where I haven't cut, I will have on the outside so that it's a little bit neater. But I can always trim this down so that it's not such a large amount that's glued down. So I'll just trim that down a bit, like that. And then I'm just going to then snip in roughly where the bottom part's going to go. And again, you can use that corner like you do with the tags, so that these folds are the same size, like that. And then I like to just cut my flaps in. So this is the bottom that we're making at the moment. So I just cut them in like that. And then you can fold your bottom flap up like that. Again, I'll just press that down like that. And then for the top piece, roughly work out, you know, how tall you want your folder to be. And then I tend to snip it in first. So again, I do the same as I did with the bottom, but obviously we're making a much larger flap. So again, take that corner across so you're getting them roughly similar. And again, then I just trim this down. Now this one, I try and trim slightly deeper down because you're going to want to be able to have room to tuck stuff in. So I'm just going to trim it like that. And sometimes, obviously, you know, it works out better than others that they meet in the middle better. But if they don't, you know, just trim it up a little bit, you know, until it kind of meets in the middle, you know, more to your liking. Hope you can all see this. It's hard to say what's visible or not. Then again, just like we did with the top, I just fold the flap over. Just check it's straightish on the other side. And again, I just press that down. And then what you might want to do is make those, you know, the little circles that you get on those policy envelopes. So you can just take some of your little offcuts. This is just my 1-inch circle punch. I doubt I'll get another circle out of that. And really, I mean, there's no need to be so stingy because I've got scraps coming out of my ears, but it more or less has made the circle, so I might as well use it. So you're going to have your circles kind of like that. So what I like to do is then generally use brads. Now, sometimes I have used eyelets in the past, and I have seen other people use eyelets. Now, the only problem is I don't often have that much success with setting my eyelets with my crocodile. Now, that's probably just me. So, you know, if that works for you, then fantastic. It's just often I can't seem to get it to work brilliantly for me. So, you know, you must do kind of how suits you. But if like me, you either don't have a crocodile, or, you know, like me, you don't necessarily find that the setting of the eyelets is ideal. You know, I mean, I love it for punching my holes. It's fantastic. But setting the eyelets, not so much. So then I just take my pokey tool and just kind of work out roughly where I want my thingy-rejiggly, you know, this circle piece, like that. Now it may be that it will go through the piece beneath, or it might not. So again, just check whether it's going to go doubly, i.e. through the other piece of card. So mine is, so I've just popped a tiny hole in there, and now I'll just punch, you know, properly through there. So we can do that. And I just take my... Now, I've tried this different ways, and I haven't quite decided what way actually suits me best. I have, excuse me, I have tried poking the string through the hole. So I'll just demonstrate that. Oops. If I can actually get it poked through the hole. Now this is all a bit fiddly for me. In fact, it's not through that hole. It's just through these, because obviously my circle was going to go, you know, on the top. So I can't even get the thread through. Just bear with me a bit. Right. I'm going to pop this one through. Now, my string is unravelling as we speak, so I'm going to have to pull it through quite a bit and then trim it up. This is so typical because I've not actually had this particular thing happen before with my string, but, you know, just to demonstrate. So what you could do is place it there. And what you could do is, you know, you could either knot it, but that might add a bit much bulk. So what you could do, trim it off and then just glue it down. So, you know, you could use your wet glue, you could use your hot glue. So I might just use my hot glue here. Oh, my hot glue gun's not on. Oh no. And that's going to be a disaster. So I'll have to wait now for that to heat up, which is a bit of a shame. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is just get a little bit of card or paper that I will just pop over that. So I'm just getting a scrap just from the side here and cover it up like that. So, you know, once my hot glue has dried, I will do this. Or I could just do it now with my wet glue, to be honest, rather than us have to wait for the gun to heat up. It's so annoying because I actually could have sworn that I turned that on before coming on to video, but obviously I didn't. So, right, there's that. And then, you know, this is just a scrap of paper and it really doesn't matter, but you want to get it kind of glued right to the edges so that anything you put in the pocket isn't really getting caught up on the paper. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to obviously close it again, and that's where we will obviously put our hole with our brad and things. So take your circle piece and then we're just going to punch, or not punch it, but you know, poke it through both of the holes like that. So again, now this is quite fiddly for me and I'm probably not doing it in the best way, but at this point you want to glue down your piece. I haven't made one of these for a while, can you tell? This is the type of thing I'm not keen on making. I find it very fiddly. So this is the type of thing that actually I will be so thrilled to have some made in bulk en masse, because it would be, you know, I love using these. I think they look awesome, but I don't overly like making them. So to actually have a bunch of these ready made is going to be pretty cool. So there we go. And just glue that down. And then obviously glue your end piece up. Like that. And then you obviously want to pop your top hole roughly in alignment with the one further down. Like that. And obviously on this one, you're just popping your brad through like that. Just fix it like that. You may or may not want to kind of stick something underneath your brad, and then you can wind your string around. This is all very fiddly for me. So, you know, I've watched other people do these and they don't look half so fiddly, but for me this is quite a fiddly thing. So that's your little policy envelope. So, I mean, as I say, I do find these quite a faff to make and quite fiddly, but I do love them. So, you know, to have some of these ready made is going to just be, you know, awesome for me. So that's our first one. So we'll get cracking on some more. So again, I'm just going to do another one on some more coffee dyed paper, or, you know, this is thickish card. This is, I think this is 200 GSM card, so, you know, it's thicker than your average card. Just going to trim the top off again. I will throw that scrap away because obviously it's tiny, but I will keep the other one. So again, we're just going to fold this in, you know, like that. Press it down a bit at the edge. And then fold this side in. like that. So as you can see, this one is kind of narrower. You know, that's what you want, is a few to choose from when you're then going to your stash, because you know, different projects are going to require different size pieces. Oops, oh, I didn't make a good job of punching that. On my hole punches, I've often taken this plastic piece off and actually binned it. I'll put it in the drawer for this, you know, for the moment, because they tend to have these lines down the bottom, and then I can't really see where the bottom of the punch is. So I've just taken that out now, and now I've got a much better view as to where the piece of card is. So for me, that works much better. So, you know, just in case you've got any punches that have that plastic thing on, and you find also it kind of blurs your view a little bit, you can just take those off. You know, I mean, obviously all it means is your piece is going to kind of fly out, so it's not all going to be contained in the punch, but you know, that doesn't bother me. So you may find that kind of quite useful to do that yourself as well. So again, just cut my corners. Yeah, I mean, these are quite lengthy to make as well, so you know, they're quite a good thing to do on bulk, because they are quite time consuming to make these. So there we go. That's my bottom one, and again, just fold that flat over at the bottom like that. And then again, just roughly, you know, where you want your top pieces to be, like that. And then again, just trim these down. Again, kind of making them much lower than the fold, so as you've got room for tucking things in and out of them. And these are just things that I've kind of picked up over time, that sometimes, you know, in the past I've maybe not tucked them in enough, you know, I've not had them low enough down. So again, just take your piece, pop it roughly where you want it, and then you're just going to punch through, you know, roughly where you want that. So this time I'm going to try and be a bit more sensible, I think. So, well, I say that, I'm probably not going to be actually. I was going to say I was going to tuck my string in, but then I'm not going to be able to glue it at the back, so I'm going to have to do it in the same method after all. So again, just poke your string through, and then in a moment I will actually show you another way that I've done it occasionally that actually I think works pretty well, and for me it kind of works better than these because it's not got this fiddly process involved. So, you know, I find this very tricky to do, pulling this through. This is where my, you know, not being overly delicate kind of comes in. And I do struggle. I hope that I was in frame there. I do struggle. So I will show you an alternative, you know, way that I do sometimes use. So, come on. Oh gosh, go through. Go through. Oh my gosh. Now obviously I'm filming some of these episodes ahead, so you know, I don't honestly know at the moment how these videos are being received. You know, I mean, obviously when you do videos you kind of hope that they will be well received generally, but you know, I don't know, these might not really be of interest to anybody, you know, because obviously it's quite boring making things en masse, isn't it? But you know, I'm hoping that some of you are, you know, finding it handy and kind of making things alongside with me. You know, obviously time will tell once I upload the videos. So, but I'm just trying to get ahead of the game, so as I've got, you know, a few videos ready to be uploading, because you know, I do want to try and stick with that little schedule of uploading them you know, kind of on a weekly basis really. So I'm trying my best to do that. So this one I'm trying to be a bit neater, and I'm gluing this down. You know, I've opened it right up now to glue it down, which hopefully is going to prove a bit easier. Press that down there. Like that. Take my one with the hole. This is a slightly smaller brad, but you know, I'm sure it will be fine. So just pop that in there. And again, just pop it through the hole. Through to the other side. Just spread my pieces out like that. Glue my end up. Like that. And then again, we're just going to fold the flap down. Hopefully got it straightish. Press it down. And then again, just going to pop our other circle in like that. And again, I'll just use a smaller brad just so it's, you know, matching. They just happen to be a couple of smaller brads that I've dug out of my tin, so that's those. There we go. And again, just wind your string, you know, between the two loops. Oops, that doesn't want to stick down now. Right. There we go. So that's two that we've done. Now the next one, I'll just show you kind of what I've done sometimes in the past. Now again, I haven't really made these for a little while. No particular reason. I just, you know, just don't happen to have done. So I might take now some of my 12 by 12 paper. I'm just going to have to take my cardigan off because I'm getting a little bit warm. So I'm just going to take my 12 by 12 paper and I will just cut it down. So again, you know, because this is now different to my A4 sheet, I'm just going to use this as a little bit of a guide. Just so as I, you know, don't go completely off and misjudge it. So I'll just cut it down here like that. So again, just turn it over. This is the last one I'm going to show you, and then, you know, I'll be a bit more chatty and a bit less demonstrating, you know. So fold that down, fold your other flap in like that. And again, trim your, come on, your little pieces, your corners off. That. And again, just trim the, you know, those inner bits, and obviously this is the bottom, you know, like that. Now for this one, I can glue this together. Well, actually I can't. I'll just do the top first. So again, just cut your, you know, what's effectively going to be your flap like that. And then again, just, you know, cut in your innards for the top section like that. And decide which way round that we want it. Now for this one, it's probably not really going to matter too much, and I'll show you kind of why in a moment. So just bin those pieces. So I'm going to just glue this together. Like that. Like that. And then we're going to take the bottom flap up, fold it up. Not sure as I've got that very straight. Never mind. And then take your top flap, fold it down. So that's your basic kind of envelope, which mine looks very skewy for some reason. I'm not sure what I've done there, but I'll just try and sort that out a bit. That's a bit better. Yeah, that's a bit better. So then pop your you know, flap at the bottom like that. Then we're just going to cut our, or you know, punch our circle out. So as I say, I have made these in the past, but I haven't made these in a little while. But I know that when I, you know, have made them in the past, they work pretty well. And for me, this is a much better way of doing it because it's really not, you know, not so faffy as the other method. So what you can do is now, I might just ink up the edge slightly because this is very brown. So unfortunately I still don't have a new ink pad. So just applying this directly and then hopefully kind of smudge it in a bit now. Just I was aware that might not have coloured very much. There we go. So then pop your brad, you know, where you want it. So roughly place it in the middle. Like that. Oops. Like that. And then with your string, I have sometimes just glued it to the back. So then, oops, that's not done properly, sorry. If I just demonstrate, so you can glue your string to the back. And then for kind of extra reinforcement, you could, you know, put some paper over there, or, you know, card or whatever. So I'll just neaten that up actually. So we'll just glue that over the top slightly just to hold that into place. So just a little bit of extra fixing really. Just pop a bit more glue down the bottom there. So then obviously your string comes from underneath and then winds around here. Obviously, you know, just singularly, you don't have a second one for it to wind round. Now, the main reason why I quite like doing these as opposed to the others, well, there's two reasons. A, this is much simpler for me. You know, I do struggle with that whole two-hole thing. You know, getting it into place, I find that quite tricky. But the other reason why I quite like it is because you can then place something over here. So if I just grab this, whereas on the other ones you've obviously got the you know, that big circle with the brad and things right in the middle, so you couldn't really kind of put anything on there. You could obviously stamp around it, you could, you know, stick things here and things, but you couldn't actually put anything over the whole thing. Whereas when you do it this way, you can actually decorate the whole of the front of your piece. So, you know, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to use this. This was just something that was laying around on my desk and I just grabbed. But you've got flexibility then to be able to actually decorate the front of it, where if you obviously had the thingamajiggy stuck there, you obviously have lost that flexibility. So, I mean, for instance here, just I'm just raggedy-ing this up a little bit so it's, you know, really nice and kind of grungy. And then I'm just going to take a piece of fabric, again, really not worrying about how I cut that or anything, just popping that on there like that. So if I just glue that on, and you see now this is exactly what I didn't really want to happen, is I'm now decorating one up and you know, getting involved in one, which is obviously not productive because I'm now not making en masse, I'm just making one. So I don't know quite what happens when I kind of do a video, but I think what happens is I get talking and then, you know, I want to show you something so it's not just making no sense what I'm doing, and then obviously before I know it I'm then you know, gone off from what the agenda was really. So I'm just going to do this very quickly just so that I'm not getting sidetracked completely. So I've inked up obviously my piece, so it's really nice and grungy now, and I'm going to glue that down like this. And just pop that on there like that. And then what I could do is obviously ink around the entire piece so that it all becomes very, very grunged up, very, you know, antique-y looking, like that. Just do that flap a bit separately. So I mean, in some ways I actually think the ones, you know, that are made with the string tucked underneath are in some ways better, you know, because you have got the ability to kind of pop something on the front completely, which, you know, I think looks lovely. So I mean, they're different types of appearance, aren't they? Different things going on. Now I wonder whether I could put the lady locket, again, just something laying around on my desk, but I wonder whether I could put her in that frame. I'm going to try and finish this in a second and then actually crack on with making a few more, because I know that on the other videos, I think I made 14 on one of the, you know, last week it might have been, and I made 12 the week before. So this week would be shameful if I actually only managed 3. Wow, doesn't that look lovely on there? Let me ink her up. Right, so I can pop her there. Might even put her on a bit of lace actually. So if she, that's a bit narrow. Put that up there. Right, let me just get this white lace, because this is you know, again, just really nice and useful. So just grab that in. You know, she might not even look any better for being on the lace, but we'll just pop her on there anyway. Right. So again, let me just ink up the lace now, because we've gone for quite a grungy look on this piece. So there we go. Again, I'm just going to use the fabric glue. Like that. Check I'm putting it the inked side up, not the other side. And then that piece there. Oops, nearly stuck her upside down. Right, there we go. Right, I've got my wipe. It's still a little bit wet and I'm going to smudge that ink around, but never mind. Right, so that's her. So, you know, hopefully you can kind of see that actually, although this hasn't got the 2, which is kind of nice, you know, in some ways this is more versatile, because the ability to decorate these is far, you know, far better. So I'm going to make a bunch of these, I think, you know, for the two reasons. A, the, you know, simplicity of it, and B, the, you know, versatility of it. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. I will leave it weighed down, I think, because obviously I have glued several things now on there. So I'm trying to keep these videos to about half an hour to 45 minutes. And I'm not sure. Right, 34 minutes. So I'm not doing well today. Let's see. Let's see if we can actually achieve anything else in this time scale. Probably not a lot, to be fair, but if we achieved a few, that would be awesome. So now you see, some people have just got this brilliant ability to be so efficient that they would probably now at this point just cut all their shapes together, and then, you know, once all the shapes were cut, they would do all the folding, then they would do all the gluing. Do you see what I mean? So it would be really methodical in how they're doing it. So I might actually have a go at that. So let's have a look. Just having a look to see what other papers I brought along today. Got this one here. So this one's from my lovely lilacs, and yeah, we do it here. Like that. Yeah, trying to be very efficient here. So going to cut down a few pieces, then we'll do the folding, then we'll do the gluing, you know, kind of see if that's more efficient still than what we have been doing. I think it probably is, but you know, I don't know whether I will necessarily stick at that. So I'm just having a look to see what other papers that I've got, you know, that would be ideal to use. So hold on, bear with me. You see, some papers are different on one side to the other, if that makes sense. So they're not going to necessarily lend themselves to this process so well. So might just make another one or two in the, you know, just coffee dyed paper. So like that. Now, have I got any paper here that I could use? I mean, to be honest, you name it, it's on my desk, so I'm sure I must have other pieces that would lend itself really well to this. So just having a bit of a flick through. You see, it also needs to be kind of thicker paper, because obviously, you know, that's going to be like an envelope, so you don't want anything too flimsy. So that's why I'm just having a bit of a rummage around, so as I'm not making it with really flimsy paper. So right, I'll just bring this piece in, I think. So again, just bear with me, I'm just fidgeting around on my chair. So I'll cut it here, I think. And then we'll just trim it down the bottom. Right, so that's another few. So let's just get folding. So fold that one like that. Oops. Oh my gosh, I made a terrible job of this. I mean, really what you want is it to be straightish, you know, on the sides. So it doesn't really matter if it's not straightish down this middle line, but you want it to be straightish here. You know, that's probably the main area that you need to kind of worry about. So now I'm just going to bring this in a little bit because it's quite big. So yeah, I hope that everybody's, you know, finding this process useful and really enjoying having some bulk items, you know, ready-made, ready to go. You know, how's everyone finding it? Are you finding it useful? Have you got any brilliant storage ideas of how to store these things? I've got some of those, I think they were probably like photo boxes originally. You get them in like TK Maxx, TJ Maxx, that is in America. I don't know what it is in other places, but I've got a few of those, which I'm intending on storing my pieces in. So far, I haven't put the pieces in there because I'm still waiting for my new ink pad. So I'm going to kind of ink my stuff up before I actually start putting it away, I think. So, but that's the plan, is to store things in those types of boxes. You know, in sections. So I would have all of these coin envelopes in a section. I'd have all of the little flip out, fold out things in a section. All of those Matchbox booklets in a section. So that's, you know, that's kind of where I'm going and where I'm thinking. But you guys might have some other really fantastic storage ideas. So I would love to, I would love to hear your ideas, because storage obviously is always an issue, isn't it, for us crafters, because we have so much stuff. So that's another one. Now I'm not going to do the gluing until I've folded in all of my pieces. So I'm just going to get cracking straight on with folding in my next piece. So just going to take that, fold it in like that. Yeah, you know, because you need to have the things accessible, because otherwise, you know, there's no point having them made. Well, that's my experience, you know. If they're not there on the side where I can kind of see them or get to them easily, I'm not going to use them. So, you know, sorry, I'm running out of space here on my little area. Yeah, that's my experience. So, you know, that's why I'm thinking have a couple of those kind of photo box type things, have them just stored in there, where then, you know, as I come to use things, I can just grab them out. So yeah, what does everyone else have planned for their mass makes? Right, there we go. Okay, so again, doesn't matter which way round you have it really, but I'm just going to fold my bottom up like that. But I mean, for me, you know, this is brilliant because, you know, you can see how long these take to kind of make. I mean, we made those 3 in 34 minutes, 35 minutes. You know, so to make these per journal is quite a faff, quite time consuming. So, you know, if I've actually got these made, and, you know, hopefully you guys feel the same, if you've got these things made, they're going to save you quite a bit of time, you know, per making, per journal. So hopefully you all feel the same. So, oh, I love this one. I love this one. I love all these newsprints and, you know, old vintage print type pages. They just look so cool, don't they? I might have to actually print a few more of these sheets and make a few more of these, because I just love how it looks. And for me, I didn't really want kind of the lilac flowers showing on it, because then it, you know, I feel wouldn't really match most things. You know, I would only then want to put it in a predominantly lilac journal. But the great thing is that's covered up completely. So this is just now a plain text piece. So, you know, when I come to use this, oops, I could take this in any direction. You know, it could be, well, you could even make quite a masculine one from this, to be honest. But you could make it quite flowery, you could make it, you know, quite grungy, you could make it very pretty and feminine. You know, you could really do a lot of things with this one now. Now, I must tuck that under there, otherwise I'm going to end up gluing it with those flowers showing. Right. So that's another one. And now this one here is my last sheet. So obviously, you know, I haven't managed to create as many as I'd hoped in this video, or as many as we've made of the other pieces that we've done. But, you know, these, as we say, they're a lot more time consuming to make. So it was probably, you know, a bit unrealistic to think that I was going to make 12 or 13 during this. So we'll have a count up in a minute and see how many we have made. I don't think we've done badly. I think we've made 7. We've made 7, and one obviously we have actually completely decorated. So, you know, I don't think that's too bad. Cut those. Cut the flap. You know, and this really is brilliant for getting rid of scraps and for using up some of those 12 by 12 papers, you know. And obviously doing them, these ones with that string, you know, wound from the back rather than the 2 circles, you know, the great thing is you could technically cover pretty much the entire piece. So the background colour of this would really become almost irrelevant because you'd hardly see it. So, you know, I really like the versatility of doing them that way. Plus, for me, as I say, they are much simpler to use, you know, to make. So they're kind of a win-win for me. Right, so there's that one. And I'll just pop that flap down. Okay, so we've made them all. I, you know, cut them out, folded them down and all the rest of it. So now we're just going to glue them all and then do the circles and the brads. So get my glue working like that. And as I say, I mean, obviously if you want to actually decorate your pieces in bulk as well, you know, en masse, then you know, you can do that. I mean, for me, I just think this is quite a time-consuming part of it, and the decorating actually is the fun part and, you know, not time-consuming. So, hence, I'm not going to probably decorate mine. But you might decide to decorate yours. So, I'm going to do all the gluing first, trying to be efficient and do it in, you know, methodical stages. So, we'll glue this. Yeah, I'm definitely going to print off more of this paper and do some more in this, and actually maybe some of the other pieces that we're going to do in other weeks, because I can just see this working really brilliantly for all sorts of things. So again, this is my lovely lilacs kit, and again, I haven't actually had time to play with it or use it at all. So this is kind of my first, you know, my first play with it. So you know, in case you're wondering why I'm so enamoured by that newsprint page, it's because I haven't really used it before. You know, I haven't, other than when I obviously put it together, I haven't actually used it myself at all either. So, you know, I just love how that looks. Right, this is obviously, this is coffee dyed cardstock, which is quite thick, and so it's not really, you know, sticking down instantly, which is why I'm pressing it obviously a little bit more. So we'll just do this one now, like that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of working in this methodical way and going, right, I'm going to do all the cutting first, I'm going to do all the sticking now, you know, that's probably the way to do it, isn't it? So hopefully going to get better at this each week, and then we'll just have it down to a fine art, you know, by the end of it. So right, that's those pieces. So I'm going to move this to here to just kind of squash it down for a minute. I'm going to punch my circles. So I need 4. That's 2, 3, 4. So, and obviously this as well doesn't use up so many brads. So, you know, again, it's quite frugal on pieces needed, because you know, whereas the other ones you needed 2 brads per piece that you were making. So, you know, it's got lots of advantages, I think, to making them this way. Right, there's that one. So where did I put my poke tool? There. Right, just going to put my first one in. Like that. Okay. Oh gosh, come on. Right, done that one. Press that down. That's the first one. And we'll do the next one. Like that. Oops. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. So that's that one. Do the next one. Okay. Oops. And as I say, I mean, if you wanted to pop something on the back of here, some paper or something, then, you know, you can always do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, sometimes it depends on the thickness of the paper that I'm going to be using, you know, or that I am using to have made the piece itself. You know, sometimes it depends if the brad seems a little bit on the small side, you know, those legs of the brad. If they're quite small, then sometimes you might want to kind of reinforce it by popping some paper down. But, you know, the choice is yours really, how you want to do that. So get your string and just get gluing that on. So we just pop down some glue there, like that. And again, you know, you may want to now stick down some paper over that. So I'm just going to use a scrap here that again I've just got laying around. I mean, endless scraps I've got laying around on my desk, so you know, this is all good. Not that these tiny scraps are obviously going to clear my desk or make any sort of dent in the mess that is my desk, but I know, and I say that all the time, you must all be a bit fed up with hearing how messy my desk is, but you know, I kind of love it that way. I probably started out doing videos hanging my head in shame and, you know, saying how embarrassing it was my desk was like that. And don't get me wrong, still that's, you know, I should be embarrassed. But now there's clearly no shame because I'm now actually, you know, voicing how much I love my desk being so messy. I just do find it very inspirational, you know, kind of having all that mess everywhere. So, yeah. And actually, it's just fascinating how many people say the same thing. So, you know, clearly I'm not alone in that. So that's nice to know, at least. Right, just cutting down bits of paper now to pop over that string. You know, and again, I mean, this is not an essential part, but just, you know, to kind of reinforce that string, especially if you were then going to have this on a page as a tuck. You know, you'd be maybe hitting into that string all the time. So, you know, to have it like reinforced is quite a good thing. There we go. Oops. Oh, come on. So, I mean, again, when you come to grab these now, you know, you're just going to grab them and then decorate them up, which is, you know, all the fun stuff. So, yeah, hopefully you're all benefiting from this, you know. I mean, obviously, as I say, I haven't started uploading these yet. You know, I'm trying to film a few ahead so I'm not then feeling pressured each week to do one every Tuesday. And it may be that actually, you know, when I start uploading this, you know, they might only have kind of a couple of views. And it might just be really not worth pursuing and doing any more. But by then I might be quite into the videos and I've done quite a few, so then I'll just have to carry on with them really, regardless. But I mean, if nothing else, I'm finding this useful, so you know, it's making me make things on mass, where if I was just making things on mass on my own, I wouldn't probably bother, because I would find it too boring. Okay, and then final one for today. There we go. And again, just wind that around there. It doesn't really matter how many times you wind it round, you know, again, that's, you know, entirely up to you. But you want it wound round, you know, a good couple of times at least, I would say. Oops. And just cut down a little bit more card and just pop that over the string. Okay. Right. So as I say, I mean, unfortunately we didn't get as many done as I, you know, would have really loved. But, you know, that's the nature of this, because these are quite a time consuming piece to put together, I find. But, you know, nonetheless, we did manage to make 7. And one of them we did actually decorate as well. So, you know, I don't think it was all lost or all kind of a waste of time. I think it was all good. So hope that you all managed to get something out of that as well, and that you've managed to make a few as well. And yeah, hopefully see you next time for a bit more mass making. So thanks very much, and see you all again soon. Thanks then. Bye.